So what we're going to do is ask the patient to open their mouth as much as possible to determine what the height of the mouth bite will be and how deep they can place the blade of the bite on their tongue. So essentially we're just assessing, and obviously we don't need, you can close your mouth again, we don't need to adjust it. Her mouth is able to open up wide enough. If we weren't able to open the mouth as wide as possible, say we're not open it as wide, then only open to that point, we would take the mouth bite and trim the cork off prior to wrapping it around the white plastic. So the next thing we have to do is wrap the thermoplast around the outside of the cork, ensuring a thin layer around the outside of the cork itself, circumference-wise, and then we're going to build up a little bit on top and on the bottom so the patient can bite their teeth into that and have a good dental impression. So we heat some of this in the water bath. Basically, when we place it in, the beads will be white, and then once they are ready to be formed, they're translucent. We empty out the water from that, remove the amount necessary to cover the mouth bite, and then wrap around the circumference of the mouth bite to create that thin layer, and then we wrap around the second part of the mouth bite on the bottom and top to create an area for the patient to bite into. Ensuring not to put any on the blade or the stem part that sits outside the patient. We form a ridge in the top and bottom for the patient to bite into again. And when we're placing it in the patient's mouth, we want more of the material to be towards the anterior and less towards the back. When they bite in, you don't want to create a big bump or gap in the back underneath the teeth, so that it becomes more difficult for the patient to fit that in their mouth. We'll again assess this once we've gone to cool it off in the water bath, in the sink. And if you need to add any more, while it's clear and cool, you can add more. Once it's been in the patient's, obviously don't want to put it back in the water bath. So once you remove the mouth bite from the water bath, you can place a little bit of water into one of these K-basins and use it to kind of keep the material supple prior to it being placed in the patient's mouth. Again, we can trim the blade if necessary, dependent on the patient's ability to have this on top of their tongue. If they find that they're gagging, we would make an adjustment to cut small millimeter like shades off of the blade. I'll show you how to do that currently right now. Okay, so we're going to cut the blade. Whenever we cut the blade, we cut as least as amount as possible, and we don't want to taper it where it becomes too narrow. We want to just only cut the tip off to create a little bit more comfort for the patient. And again, you would to cut off small increments at a time, like that. So a small wee little bit came off that, and that should even be enough to allow the patient to not gag. However, if they do gag, you would take a little bit more off and basically make sure that their tongue is still depressed when this is on. If you were to cut it too much, you would to a point you would achieve no tongue depression. So you want to keep it as minimal as possible. So when I bring the mouth bite over, I'm going to place it inside the mouth. We're going to ask you to open as much as possible. And I ask you not to bite down until the point that I tell you to bite down. The blade of this thing should sit on top of your tongue, and your tongue should be forward and under the blade, and the tip should be touching your teeth. Okay. Please let me know if it becomes uncomfortable and we'll make an adjustment, okay? So we're going to place it inside, ensuring the tongue's forward. Don't bite down until I let you know. And you can close down your mouth and slightly bite down and bite in. Perfect. And open your mouth as much as you can. So you'll notice that we've created a big large gap at the protuberance at the end inside the mouth. We don't want that there, so we're going to remove it. So we remove this piece quite quickly with scissors, reform it. We'll bring it out, make sure that it's nice and smooth and it hasn't been causing any kind of sharp edges for the patient. We'll bring it back over. This thing's starting to slightly cool, and we'll place it back in the patient's mouth, ensuring that it still fits in properly. This is still a little bit supple, so it allows us to change the shape of the teeth and make it fit a little less snug, so that the patient's more comfortable. Again, open your mouth. So we'll start off by placing it on the top teeth, and then the patient will close down and onto the bottom. You can see that it has good conformance on the teeth, on the top and the bottom, and that inside the blade is on top of the tongue, but not causing the patient to gag at all. You can open your mouth again. We're again going to take this over and run it under cold water to finalize the cooling and curing of the thermoplast. Once the thermoplast is fully cooled, it'll turn completely opaque and white. When getting the patient to bite through and down, when the material is quite soft, you want to ensure that they bite clearly right down to the cork. That's allowing them to have that one separation, standard separation, and they've actually touched the cork, meaning that they have a good dental impression as well. So once this has gone clear, you can see the color has changed, and we have a very good dental impression on the top. No protuberance towards the back, which makes it difficult for patients who can't open their mouth as treatment goes on to get over that bump, and a really, really solid definition on the bottom. Try placing this back in the patient's mouth, and we'll again ask them, once it's kind of cured, it may change the way it fits and or the way the blade feels on the tongue, so we will adjust it if necessary, the blade that is. We'll place this back in, and open, perfect. As you can see, if you look inside the patient's mouth, sorry, I'm just going to be pushing on your cheek a little bit, the blade is sitting right on top of the tongue is quite forward and touching the teeth on the bottom, and there's great separation for that, and it's fairly comfortable for the patient. Good dental impression as well. So once this has gone clear, you can see the color.
Oh my god, it has to be landscape.
Oh, sorry.
It must be wide. You ready? Don't put it on me.
So you have to do the Mouthbite assessment first.
So yes, indeed.
We can edit this, right?
You know what?
So what we need to do first is the Mouthbite assessment.
Cut!
Still running? Okay, so we're going to get the patient to open their mouth as wide as possible, ensuring that we can adequately place the device inside. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to ask the patient to open their mouth as much as they can. Not.
Alright, Millie, we're ready.
Okay, redo.